Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Best of the West, the place for all things LTA North and LEC. I'm your host, Shadows, back at you with a little bit of a shorter episode, since today we're only talking about LTA North. I have an episode about what I expect to happen this coming weekend. I'll hopefully link that right here or wherever. So you can watch that episode about my predictions. But today we're just talking about LTA North. We're going to do a quick recap of what happened last weekend and then what I expect to happen in our cross-conference games. Let's first off start with TL and Dig. I was wrong about this series because it wasn't even remotely close. I'm very sorry, TL, for what I said last week. I was not familiar with your game. They looked a lot better. Game one was just straight up domination from TL. They looked like they were in control the entire game since minute one. I guess minute one is a bit too early to put it on. But since the first kill, so minute 5 or 6, game two, Shopify did fight back a little better. They did get all 6 scrubs, and they were able to get feats of warfare, and it looked like they were in a potentially winnable position, I should say, in the first 20 to 22 minutes. If they were against a different team, they would have definitely won. Not definitely, but they looked like they could have won against, other teams in the other 3 teams, and that bottom 4. You get what I'm saying. They were in a potentially winnable position for the first 20 to 22 minutes, but then 23 minutes happened, and then there was the bot side river fight, and then TL off of that very much winning fight just get Dragon Soul, and they get a 2k gold lead, and before you know, the game's over. Fly versus Dignitas. I was also wrong about this one, but for the opposite reason of the other one, in the same way that I thought the TL series was going to be close and it wasn't. I thought this one was going to be not at all close, and I was wrong about that too, because in game 1, Dignitas actually fought back really well. Like, they were responding well for their players. I think they responded to I think it was their bot turret that was taken. They responded with top. They got all 6 grubs. It was pick for pick. They were responding to picks, and they found really good, two really good fights. The first one was bot side at 23 minutes, and the other one was, I think, in mid lane maybe at 27 minutes. But then they attempted Baron 2 minutes later, and that was what lost them the game. Obviously it was the second Baron fight 10 minutes later, which was what allowed them to officially end the game. But it's FlyQuest just gained an insurmountable lead from that fight. So it's that one fight at 29 minutes is what really lost you the game. It was a risky take. So they looked close, but game 2 was not so close. They still fought back and were able to find good picks. But it was, much better from Fly. So I guess you could say the first game was FlyQuest floundering a little bit. But, I like to think that Dignitas was just playing well. And perhaps Fly was just not familiar with their game. They were not expecting them to show up like that on the day. And then there was the tiebreaker between TL versus Fly. This is the one I was correct about, but not in the way I expected. I was sort of correct because, they beat TL, but the game was super winnable for TL. And then APA kind of entered that one fight. In topside, there was also that fight in mid lane where Umpty literally pushed the Nico into his team. So it's, we're kind of in the same position. Us CL fans, we're kind of in the same position where, we just were losing games because of bad plays by APA and Umpty. This game is both of them. But yeah, so I mean, as a TL fan, I don't really mind because I'm actually kind of happy, mainly because we don't have to worry about playing 100 Thieves in the semifinals, which is a perfect segue into my expectations. 100 Thieves versus Pain Gaming. So I'm not going to take credit for this because this is something that David said, David Shynock, the super fan from 100 Thieves. Here's the thing about 100 Thieves. They have a lot of variance in their level of play. Too much variance, if we're being honest. So going from placing first in the LTA North to losing to Pain, their fourth seed, is definitely something 100 Thieves could do. I mean, we saw them lose to LLA after upsetting Cloud9. Like, I mean, it is very possible. That being said, I don't see them losing. I think they have better people in each position. I know Team Kato is pretty good, or Jean Kato. I don't remember how you pronounce it. By the way, their roster for Pain Gaming's roster, Jesus, is Weiser, Karaoke, Jean Kato, Titan, and Curry. I don't see them losing. I think, you know, they just have the best mid jungle in the LTA North, in my opinion. I guess you could say Quad and Inspired are better, but I think River and Quid look better, so I don't think Karaoke and Jean Kato really stand a chance. Weiser could possibly, kick Sniper's ass, but, I think Chitan and Curry are probably their win condition. And I think FPI is too stable. I don't see FPI Ayla, letting the Chitan and Curry, just get a huge lead and just win. So I just don't see them losing. Moving on, we have FlyQuest versus Leviathan. The only players I know here are Cody and Seo. I don't remember why I remember Cody. I remember seeing him at MSI. I think he just solo killed someone, and it was impressive for whoever he solo killed. And then Seo has been to Worlds twice, but I don't really have too many thoughts about him. But anyway, I think FlyQuest to clear. I just don't see this team winning, especially since this is a team with no imports. They have 3 LLA players and 2 CBLOL players. They have Zovtha, Scary, Cody, Seo, and Pro Delta. Scary and Pro Delta are their Brazilian players, and the rest are all Latin American. And I think this says something about the region, but let me talk about that as we move over to Isurus Estral versus Team Liquid. Because I think the fact that these are the top 2 teams, Leviathan and Isurus Estral, just shows something about what was the CBLOL, and now shows something about the LTA South. Your top 2 teams are basically just LLA teams. This one, Isurus Estral has 2 Korean players. Their roster is Bertel, Jose Diodo, Miru, Snaker, and Ackerman. And then the previous roster was, instead of 2 Koreans, 2 Brazilian players. So it's these are your 2 best teams, and they're from the LLA. LLA teams could not thrive like this in the North. So this is why I just expect every single LTA North team to just absolutely clear. So this region is just weak. It's just way weaker. And Jose Diodo is a great LLA jungler. He is kind of goated. I think Audi is more considered the GOAT, but I remember seeing Snaker and Ackerman at Worlds, and they did look like a good bot lane, at least for a wild card region. But you're going up against Yon and JJ. So I don't see them winning, especially since they're not amazing. Like, I don't watch much LTA South. I do watch a good amount of Dom's co-streams. I Will Dominate. I do watch a good amount of his streams, or at least highlights, because I'm a YouTube frog. They dropped a game to Furia, who didn't even make it, and I don't know how close they were making it, but they did drop a game to them, and it was like something crazy, like 15-1, I think, was the scoreline at the end. So I don't even see them winning a game against TL. And it's the same thing for Cloud9 versus Loud. I think this is probably going to be the closest matchup. It's probably because of name bias. We kind of know these players. They have Robo and Tinones in top and bot, who are like considered the best, considered two of the best players in CB LOL, or at least from what I know. And these are just well-known names. And we saw Route at Worlds. They have Wizen, the jungle, as well, who's Korean, and then they have Winsome in support, who is, pretty good player. As someone who's watched a good amount of NACL, I think he earned his position. So I think that's nice to see. But I find it unlikely for them to win. I guess we'll have to see each individual game, but I really don't think they could take a name off of Z9. I mean, it's certainly possible. Like, they could, but I don't see it happening. So that's about it for this episode. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, maybe 3, to talk about what we've seen. So that's about it for today's mini episode, although I am still counting it as a full episode. I was going to label this 2.5, but then I was like, it's going to be longer than 10 minutes, and it is. So thank you guys for listening to this episode, and I will see you guys in a few weeks. Peace.